We're still in Maryland. We're doing another episode of the Don't Stop Podcast. As you can see, we're on an outdoor court because the vibes are good. So today, we just finished a workout and we thought it'd be good to talk about a question that a lot of you guys ask, which is like, how do you improve shooting, or how do you work on shooting? And that's also been a main focus for Oliver this past off season. And that's also something I've helped Jeremy develop his shot later in his career as well.
Yeah, we just finished up a solid session, just about an hour, and it's our fourth straight day on the court. We had a run last night, went on for almost 3 hours, so body's a little fatigued today, didn't sleep enough, hands broken. I mean, bone's not broken, but super swollen. So
swollen to the joint though, so it was.
Yeah, I did the best I could, but yeah, we went through a whole bunch of things today that we'll share a little more about.
So I think first off, a lot of people get hyper focused on wanting to know perfect form or what that means, and generally what you see in the past or what you see online is like 90 degrees, right? 90 degrees, feet square, shoulders square. But if you actually look at a lot of the best shooters in the league, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, in the past, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, they all Kyle Korver, they all shoot, Steve Nash, they all shoot slightly different. And so I think if you're a player, instead of being focused on what is the perfect way, right? Everybody kind of has their own shooting form that works because everybody's leg length and arms and shoulder mobility is a little bit different. You have to focus on what we call invariant, which is like what must be true to be a good shooter, right? So the ball must go straight. You must have rotation. There must be arc on the ball, right? And then if you want to decide on whether your shooting mechanics is, if you want to change it or not, you have to figure out, is it consistently going in? And then is it efficient, right? So you might have a shot that's very consistent, but it takes like 6 business days to get off, right? So what I'm trying to say is like, you got to look at the best shooters first and see what they're all kind of doing. What is the thing that's
common
constant,
traits.
The common traits, instead of thinking like, should it be on the palm or should it be on the thing? Should it be out or in?
I'd be like, I tried changing my knee angle and haven't found the power.
And I'm not saying none of those things are important, but you got to focus on the big thing. So having said that, why don't you talk about the evolution of your shot? Maybe, because I know in the past you tried to shoot like a more Steph Curry, Trae Young, and then you went back to it, and now you've kind of settled to something that's in between.
I'll go back to actually when I was growing up, like a kid. I used to shoot obviously lower here, and it was actually a pretty smooth release now that I look back at it. But then when I got to high school, my sophomore year, I had a pretty bad wrist injury. So you see like the 3 pins here.
Yeah.
That kind of altered my shot a bit.
So like you couldn't bend it as much, or?
Yeah, I didn't really properly rehab it, to be honest. I kind of just, I was young, get back on the court, I'm ready. So my shot naturally actually went almost to the top of my head because I wanted to get my release higher, and then maybe because of the wrist mobility, I naturally kind of shot it almost like this. So almost like a catapult type shot. I didn't even know how it looked. It went in though.
That Derek Fisher shot.
Yeah, but well, not like that, because Derek Fisher brought it back like this. Mine was just almost at the top of my head. And yeah, in the mid-range, obviously, I elevate. And that's how I kind of shot in high school, junior, senior year. And then it wasn't until college when, I had access to a gun, and then starting to film my workouts, my shot, kind of trying to get the release quicker, maybe a little lower. It was still higher than, what some would consider a regular set point. So it was a higher set point shot. Then after graduating, playing pro, I've always had the mid-range. Mid-range never been an issue because there's always been higher set point, jumper, you elevate in the air. It's kind of the deep threes, the deep range shots that I've been working on the last few years. And also to do with strength levels. I think when I was younger, obviously when you're growing, your set point, your shot's not going to look how it looks, when you're an adult. So which is also why Josh will elaborate on this. When you're young, you actually, if you're really, really young, like we're talking, 10 years old, 11, you don't want to force, shooting from too far out because it kind of encourages bad mechanics,
Yeah.
which might later on result in, it might take longer to actually undo. And so if you look at places like Europe, where skill development is pretty mature, or they've had a system for a long time, they actually play with smaller courts, lower rims, and
Smaller balls.
yeah, and so if you look at their shot, it looks more like an adult shooting a basketball, but they're like 8, 9 years old. And so I think, yeah, if you're a parent listening to this, your kid's 9, 10 years old, probably best not to have them, shooting
Steph Curry.
NBA threes.
Yeah.
Just remember it's a long game, and then especially if you haven't hit your growth spurt, your body's not strong enough yet. You don't want to, force shooting really from like distance. Just there's other things you can develop that's probably more important, like coordination, ball handling, decision making, passing, things like that will still translate in the long term. But I think that would, yeah.
So the point that Oliver brought up is, the high set point. The disadvantage is as you get further out, it becomes a much more challenging shot to make, right? So if you look at Trae Young, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, when they shoot those logo shots, they're not shooting at a very high set point. You have to have a slightly lower set point to be able to, unless you're crazy strong like a Anthony Edwards, where you're super tall and you're jumping and you can shoot it from there. That's like the one example I would say, like a person who can get away with it. So there's trade-offs. If you have a higher set point, it's harder to block, but it takes more energy and you could argue is a little bit slower.
Like Kawhi, that's like as high as it gets, right?
Right, and it depends, like, are you a mid-post type player or not? But if you're a guard, you're generally going to want a slightly lower set point just for speed. And, someone like Oliver, the other key component is that he's playing defense 94 feet, right? So a lot of energy is being expended on playing defense. We have to think offense, like how to make him as efficient as possible. So from yesterday's run, what I noticed is for Oliver's, when he needs to score a bucket, he isn't really comfortable maybe making one hard move and going into a quick shot. He tries to get more into the mid post and use physicality, bump, and elevate over. But at the next level, either at CBA, NBA, or G League or whatnot, and you have everybody who's 6'10", 6'11", 7'1", they can elevate too, right? So you got to have more solutions to that. So that's how we thought about maybe changing the shot a little bit and making it slightly quicker, slightly lower release. Obviously, like, you have to consider training age. Oliver's 28. How long he's been playing basketball, how many shots, if trying to make big changes in your shot is probably going to take way too much time. And like, I don't know the trade-off is, you know what I mean? So trying to make the smallest change, I'll have the biggest ROI for Oliver. So the next thing I think we could talk about is just like a lot of players listening will say, or I've heard a lot of players, especially in Asia, they'll say like, Coach, I shoot 500 shots a day, every day. I shoot all the time, but I can't make shots in the game. What do you think about that training? And then what do you think about how, because that's something I bet you used to do too.
Yeah,
as well.
You obviously need reps against a live defender or like a training style that simulates the game to an extent. And so it's not just stand still. Even, shooting off the move will give you better results. That being said, if you've already done, a live session that day and you do want to just get extra shots up at night, then you can have, 10 makes each spot from like one spot where you're not moving, then, shooting another shot or from another spot. That's when I think that kind of going for repetition or makes is potentially beneficial.
There's a difference between working on your shot and getting shots up. So as Oliver was saying, you had a already hard run today. You've already played pickup, and you're trying to just relax or go to the court and see everybody loves just, sometimes you just need to see mental health. Sometimes you just need to see the ball go in and get reps in, and that's fine. But generally, if you do want to work on your shot, it needs to be more than just making an arbitrary number of 250 or 500, right? Yeah. Is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a player. I'm not a trainer by trade, so you would know more about how to plan such things. But obviously, if you want the best results, you need to have reps where you're going against a defender who's contesting. If you don't have that, like when I'm back in Hong Kong, to simulate longer wingspan, we have like a contesting stick
or something,
a stick, right? Stuff like that, off a closeout, off contest. And so nothing beats live reps where you're actually making decisions and then shooting out of that. But it's actually from those reps where you have to break down, okay, what scenarios do I need to work on? What footwork didn't feel natural, or what situation appeared and then I wasn't able to capitalize. Like I missed that shot. So maybe that's something you can try to simulate in the training. And so to give an example, last summer when I was doing G League tryouts, there were times when I was going crazy on defense, like full court, and then I had a shot that was relatively open and I missed. And I could feel it was, because of my fatigue and because I hadn't really done training where I'm doing multiple defensive reps of many different situations into one shot. And sometimes I'm playing point or I have the ball in my hands, but sometimes I don't have the rock in my hand and you don't really have that feel of the ball. So you still gotta be able to make the shot when the situation or the opportunity appears. So every person's situation is gonna be different, but most people are gonna have to learn how to play off the ball as well. And so being able to make, catch and shoot, one dribble shots, just making simple reads, but more so when those situations happen, having the intent to shoot, the trigger is there and you're not overthinking it.
Yeah, so I'll try to break this down as succinctly as possible. The reason why I believe a lot of people train a lot and shoot a lot of shots and then don't feel like it transfers is because you're not doing the same. In your training, you don't have the same variables as you would have in a game. And that's where the difference is. What do I mean by this is, in a game, when you catch a ball, what decisions do you have to make before you take a shot? Your primary defender, how far they are. In the offense, where are you? Secondary defense, behind you.
Is there one more pass?
Is there one more pass? Is your teammate in relation to you?
Is he a great, the best shooter on the team? Like you could be.
Are you the best shooter on the team? Is the best shooter next to you on the team? There's so many things, and what I'm trying to say is that there's probably 10 to 12 decisions you kind of have to factor really quickly, and that all impacts your rhythm and how you feel in your shot. So in training, if you're just shooting 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 one dribble pull-ups, 10, 10, 10, one crossover, pump fake, that's great that you're getting some, whatever, but you're not making any type of reads or decisions. Also in a game, you don't get 10 shots or 15 shots. So the way I think about it is the higher level you are, the more variability we're going to have, the more complex, the more decisions I'm going to have the player make. So he might have to read a closeout and a secondary defender. He might have to make a closeout with a 6'10 guy. We have Christian who helps us, and he's 6'10. Closing out on Oliver is going to feel very different than if I run at Oliver and try to close out. So different types of defender. That's how we try to mix it up. And the first thing is it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to involve all the decisions because you can't perfectly replicate the game. But at least we can maybe give a drill where there's more complexity, where there's 2 to 4 decisions they have to make. The other ways that we can challenge shot is speed of your release. So say you don't have anybody to help close out, you can purposely challenge yourself to shoot even faster, right? Because in a game, if someone's closing out, you're going to release a little bit faster. Breaking up your rhythm. So like catching it from low, or maybe you're jabbing, because a lot of times when you play one-on-one, you notice like with the second you see an opening, that's when you try to shoot it, right? But it's usually forcing it out of rhythm. So being able to shoot in and out of rhythm. being able to shoot higher arc. So say you have a taller defender on you, like you're not going to be able to shoot your normal shot. So you might have to shoot a higher arc on that. So momentum is another way, like going backwards, forwards, and rotation would probably be another one. Turning to your right, turning to your left. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're not challenging all types of those types of shots, in addition to different footworks, so a lot of people are very, if you watch people shoot spot shots, they're very like, if you're right-handed, left, right,
step in.
left, right. And they believe like, oh, 10,000 reps is the most optimal. But sometimes when you catch it, your right foot might be forward and you might need to go up right away. Sometimes you catch it, you might be already like on a jump stop. Being able to shoot out of all different shots is, to me, what makes the mark of a great shooter versus, someone who's mediocre, right? So, I mean, did that ever click to you on your own as you were coming up? Like a trainer didn't have to tell you that?
Yeah, before working with any trainer specifically on shooting, some sessions I would just, if it wasn't live reps, I would just mix in every footwork, like hezzy pull left, right, hezzy pull right, left. Every move that I pull off the left, I mirror the same footwork off right. One area that I use more on my left than right is the bank shot. For some reason, the bank shot on the left wing just feels like it's my go-to. Anytime I'm in that little range,
You shot one today.
I shoot a bank. But I didn't really, I don't know if it's, the way my shot is. It never really clicked the same on the right wing, on the right bank, but I also shot some right bank shots today. Stepping into left, right, also right, left. I had a mom who used to play professionally. She played for Chinese women's national team, and I see her doing stuff like this instinctively. She steps into it right, left, right, off like a hop. And
it's not wrong. That's the important thing. It's like a lot of parents will be like, or coaches will be like, that's wrong. You got to left, right onto your shot. The balance, stability.
Yeah. So say even when I teach people how to shoot a jumper, like jump shot program in Chinese, the first footwork I teach them is the inside foot, right? So if you're pulling up, dribbling with your left, it's going to be right, left, step into it. If you're dribbling with your right, left, right. But once you have that down, it's like, sometimes you hang and then it's the outside foot first, or it's the outside foot, then there's little layers that you build on top of it. And so I think most good players kind of just figure that out on their own.
Well, I think ultimately it's situation should dictate your choice or your tactics, right? I think too many people will say like inside, outside, outside, inside, instead of what makes sense in this situation? What's the quickest in this situation? And that's going to be different for each type of person as well. If you're a righty or you're a lefty, or if you don't have good hip mobility or thoracic rotation, maybe that's going to affect it as well.
Yeah, and on that note, say something happened in a run or a live session, like you shot a shot that, I've never worked on that. Then you can actually remember that and then just go freestyle with it on your own. And then so that your body's going to learn that. And so you throw in a little variability with it, like, off a different move leading up into it, or, after you jump, I saw, that reminds me of a video, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, is that his name?
I don't know how to say his name, but.
Yeah. There's a video of him like just freestyle shooting, and he's like on the jump, he's fading left, fading right, bank shots, in every direction. And so he didn't have a trainer, in the 80s teaching him this stuff. He just figured this stuff out on his own. He was like a Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
And a lot of people will think they need to go train 1,000 reps, jumping to your left, 1,000 reps, jumping to your right. It's not that. It's training the ability to adapt in any circumstance. Yeah. Like another thing I was also thinking about that we've played around too is vision. Vision affects balance and being able to find the rim and stuff. And so lots of times we might do closeouts where, we're blocking the right eye. If you're right eye or left eye dominant, that could affect you as well. I don't know the exact science besides how it would affect you. So closing out, generally people will close out just from the front, But sometimes thinking about, I'm sharing another way of challenging or making shooting drills a little bit more complex is you could have two people closing out. You could have people closing out from the side.
Yeah.
You could have
From the back.
Yeah, from the back. And then also like purposely trying to cut off the vision of one side. We've also, just for fun, have done also eyes closed. So like on the catch, close your eyes and go up into your shot. And to me, that kind of, if you're alone and you don't have someone closing out on you, obviously you can't have someone blocking your vision. So it would make sense to close your eyes. And that would kind of simulate, you know, someone's hand being there. But also, one time there was a pretty cool pair of glasses. They were shooting glasses where like it was sunglasses, and you could set the shutter speed to close like one eye like this. You could set it to time like every 3 seconds. It would take two. It was crazy, and I really liked the concept, but they would fog up. And it's like, who wants to wear like Oakley looking sunglasses with a headband in a workout? But you can take that concept. The whole point is we're trying to share. People have I think they think a little bit too simply about shooting. They just think it's straight about reps. And I think the next level would be figuring out which problem you struggle with. It's like a rotation problem, momentum problem, decision making, because a lot of times people catch it and they'll see the closeout, and like you were trying to do today. Oliver was guarding someone. He was trying to pretend like he was going to close out very hard, and then he would stop like this purposely. He was trying to mess with
on defense.
He was purposely trying to make the defender think like it was like a.
As a defender,
you know this.
Yeah, I know this. So if I sprint up and I even like wind up my arms like I'm about to jump or swing, I would say the most elite shooters, they're just going to pull because they got a slip of space they're going to pull. But if someone needs a rhythm to, you know, get a shot off, then I know, you know, I can close out short, then I can, you know, potentially make a play defensively. But yeah.
So also I think the reason why Oliver said live, like playing against shooting in live competition is really important is because those small gaps that Oliver's talking about, you all know, like when you do a move, and you slightly see your defender shift into his back foot or onto those heels, like you have to be able to like grab that split second where you see that and be able to go into your shot. You can only do that if you have a live defender in front of you and recognizing that. And it's building the experience of once you see the defender, you get him leaning, being able to pull into your shot. And I think that's a huge missing component that players, and that's why you said the elite level shooters, they know, they can see you already faking. They're like, dude, it doesn't matter if you fake. That was already too slow. If you're not
you
full
play
out,
them differently.
If you're not full out closeout, I'm shooting this every single time. And that's kind of what separates maybe like a great shooter from elite shooters. They are able to recognize right away when they have a sliver of space. But that is in its skill in itself that you have to build to become a great shooter. In terms of reps, I would say, the higher level shooter you are, the less reps I give to a player at a certain shot. Why I do this is because I want to see how quickly they can figure out the problem I've given, whether it's a rotation problem, momentum problem, decision-making problem. I don't want, if I gave Oliver 12 reps at one spot, I'm positive he could figure it out quickly. But like he said, playing in Japan and also in China, like you got to be able to make adjustments like fairly quickly. You can't.
You
2 reps. You might 2 reps you might take two shots and a half. So like you got to be able to adjust fairly quickly. The last element I would say about shooting that you can share about is the psychological component of, if I miss a shot, I have so many players where they know if they miss like their first or 2-3, like miss their second 3, coach is subbing them out or coach is telling them not to shoot. How do you deal with that pressure of knowing that, you know, if you miss a shot, you might get subbed out?
You only know the problem once you've experienced it. And so first of all, if you made your first shot, congratulations, because that's going to open.
Good,
the coaches might be like, hey, they're going to sub you back in more readily. You know, you're going to check into the game, depending on your role on the team. Because I've been on teams where Like, obviously, the coach knows what I can do defensively, rebounding wise.
You have leeway.
I've gone, I might have gone like I've shot 2 for 13, but I had like 15 rebounds, 8 assists, and I hit like 7 or 8 free throws. And so it's at that point it's a different dynamic. But if you're coming off the bench and you kind of have to make shots to stay in the game, and you miss that first shot, it's hard. But you have to, first of all, stay disciplined, and then don't force up, obviously, a shot you wouldn't normally shoot. Get to the free throw line if you can. Be aggressive, because getting to the free throw line can get you at least a rep shooting at the rim. And you just have to be like, you just have to conquer that mental barrier and be like, you just have to shoot it. Like, even when it's a shot that you should shoot, you can't think, oh, what if I miss this? You just have to.
The more you think, the more you're going to freeze, and the more your shot's going to go out of rhythm, and the more likely you're going to miss. So I think self-talk is really important.
Yeah, I was just about to go into self-talk. So first of all, before you catch a ball, usually you know if you should shoot it. Like, you should have court mapping. You should know if you're open, the context. Is it early in the shot clock, or is it, this is the best shot that your team's going to have? So on the catch, if you know it's a shot that you should take, then you could tell yourself, shoot this. And then as you're catching it, shoot this. And then you're like listening to yourself. And then another thing is actually something I spoke to Josh about during my season. It's whenever you step out on the court, it's, positive self-talk, reminding yourself, best player on the floor. You just have to play aggressive as though you did make the last few shots. And so many times that's actually what got me going. Is I might have missed a shot or even 2 shots, but the next possession I get a rebound, and then I just go coast to coast for an and one. Then it kind of changes the dynamic. Yeah.
Well, I also think you can only replace thoughts in your head with, like, you can't tell yourself not to think.
Yeah.
In your mind, when you go, dang, I missed my first shot, and you look over to the bench, and is coach subbing me out? Is he like going down? Everybody's gone through that, right? Where they like miss a shot and they're like, oh, is he gonna sub out? You can't tell yourself at that moment, don't think. Like, oh, just focus on your next shot. Your brain's just gonna go, ooh.
Okay, but on that note, one thing is you don't react. You just lock up defensively, because after I miss a shot, I rarely be like, oh, I am like, okay, I missed. And then I go straight up into picking someone full court. But continue.
But in order to get rid of those shots, you have to replace them, right? So instead, when you miss a shot, I encourage my players to not think like, oh, dang, it's, looking over, blah, blah. It's what you tell yourself right away, input-wise, like next shot in, still the best shooter. That was a good shot. Like, as you're inputting stuff in your head, you're not giving your mind or brain space to go into a negative space. And then and if you do get subbed out, say you miss your first 2 shots, coach is like, oh, get him out. When you go to the bench, it's very easy to be like, oh, scouts are watching today. Like, why of all today can't I feel my shot? Like, oh, and you start thinking about your mechanics, and dude, you can't do any of that. Yeah. At that moment, like, all you got to do is next one's in. The first quarter's over. The first act is over. You're just focusing on the next thing. You're focusing on visualizing where you're going to catch it. Yeah. Am I going to catch? Okay, I know this game, they're playing defense like this. I'm probably going to get a corner shot. I'm seeing on the bench, obviously, like, you're cheering, you're watching the game, but I'm also visualizing myself, like, readiness of, okay, the next one I catch it, I'm going to see it go in, swish. Like, you have to keep filling your mind with positive stuff. Otherwise, it's going to go into that, starts with the body language first, like, this shot, like, oh, like, I don't know. And I think you have to stop the negative spiral. That's some of you guys, like, you guys can't stop the negative spiral.
Yeah.
You want to, but you don't know how. But you have to have done the work. And this work doesn't start on game day. You have to do this. You have to challenge yourself to do this at a practice, at your own team practices or pickups. high-level pickup runs. And then before that, you have to challenge yourself to do that in training. So I have players, especially the ones who struggle more mentally with the shooting aspect, is I'll tell them like, hey, you got three shots right here, only three reps. Say you go 0 for 3. I'm like, okay, 0 for 3. It's all right. Reset, next spot. I was like, if you go 3 for 3 from that, what is that? They're like 50%. I'm like, is that a good shooting percentage? They're like, yeah, it's really good. I was like, does anyone in the NBA shoot 50%? No. But it helps reframe, like, in your misses, you went 0 for 3. Like, most people would just stop shooting, right? But if you go 3 for 3, which is, very possible, or even 2 for 2, 0 for 2, 2 for 2, that's still 50%, right? And so you have to start training. People try to wait to the game to start training this, but you got to start training it in training and then challenge yourself. If you go to the pickup run or whatever, and guys are like, you could tell when guys don't want to pass you the ball and they're like, oh, pass swing when you miss it. But you got to be able to play through that too and mentally challenge yourself. Every time I had an open shot, did I take it? And then was I able to push myself mentally? And then you'll start seeing transfer in the game. But you have to do it in the game too. It's all three of those elements combined over and over again, multiple seasons, that make you more, in my opinion, mentally robust.
Yeah, and Josh touched on it and about visualization. The night before a game, or even before a game, you can have a little quiet time and just think about, what looks you might get. These little positive self-talk. You can remind yourself.
Going to sleep, definitely waking up.
Yeah.
On the way to the game.
On the way to the game is a good
sure.
time. On the bus ride, maybe you're listening to music, just zone out and think about what spots you're gonna get, what shots you're gonna get.
Body language. We've talked about body language in the past. Yeah. If you go to the bench and you slump over, you've seen it, right? Like, oh, I'm not hitting shots today. You've even seen it in the Drew League.
Oh,
when guys miss a shot, they start walking back or whatever.
Or they get subbed out and they're complaining on the bench.
Yeah. So that's all stuff you can control and train. But now you can see from the very get-go, that initial question that people ask us is, I shoot 500. The initial question is, how many shots should I shoot a day to become a great shooter? Or why can't I get transfer into it? It's because shooting is a much more complicated topic besides mechanics. And I think people focus too much. I'm not saying mechanics are not important, but I think they hyper-focus on the mechanics, which is, X amount of percentage, but then ignore everything else that we just talked about. Decision-making, mental training, visualization, challenging speed, rhythm, momentum, direction, release, defense, all that stuff. So I think if you start incorporating just even a few of those things into your training, you'll start seeing a good amount of better transfer into games.
Yeah, and you might not, they're going to ask about specific drills and stuff, and you can follow Josh's page for that. He shares a lot of good stuff on shooting. But even if you're just on your own, just think about what scenarios you see yourself in a game and then try to do those game speed, or mix those in with live reps, play games out of that. Or you play a defensive rep before that, try to get yourself a little fatigued before getting into that shot that you missed in whatever scenario you were, whether that was a run or a game. It's also constantly reflecting on the shots you're taking and missing, and then
how you're missing the left, right, short, back.
Yeah, and then sometimes even if you missed a shot, it might have been a good opportunity. It just didn't go in. And so you just have to live with it, but then realize, all right, got to keep working on it, and it'll fall. I
mean, the easiest thing that Oliver said is, how do you get your shots up in your own offense? Is it off a flare screen, pin down, shaking up from the corner, transition threes? Just, if anything, try those shots, but incorporating them really at game speed, pushing yourself to, if you're shooting 70-80% in your workout, then I don't think that means you're not challenging yourself enough, because you're shooting at such a high clip. So you want to make sure the shots that you're taking are sufficiently challenging. And Oliver and Brent brought it up too, like defensive reps or some type of conditioning before, not letting yourself get in rhythm, right? Again, this goes back to how advanced of a player you are, right? If you're very advanced, we can make it much more complex, a lot more variability. I would say if you're a beginner player or you're still on the lower level player, like you still want those elements of making game reads, complexity and variability. We just don't do as much of it. We scale it down. So give those a shot. We want to hear what you think about shooting, what's worked for you, but I think try to not hyper focus only on form. You want to really think about what makes great shooters great, and how that's going to work for you, and then try adapting some of the things that we talked about. But if there's anything else, Oliver and I are always looking for different topics. We could talk probably for 10 hours straight every day about basketball. And this is what we try to do, but we try to do it in bite sizes. So, and, you know, contain to a certain topic so we can keep it focused for you guys. But, you know, always hearing from you guys and asking good questions is a skill in itself as a player, and your coach will appreciate as well. So we want to create this community where, you know, we are helping you guys along this journey. But I think sometimes the questions that we're still getting are, how do I improve my defense? Like, what's the best footwork? Yeah. Everyone wants to know the best instead of maybe taking some of the information that we're already giving out and really trying that information and putting it into practice. You can acquire the best information, the best footwork, but if you're not doing it out there, trying to gain your own EXP or gain your own insights on them, they're never going to be yours. You're going to be copying what someone else is telling to you. It has to become your own. That is the most important thing that we could teach you. So hopefully you guys picked up some things from this podcast. Hopefully Oliver's hand heals. Yeah. And next time we shoot a podcast, you know, Oliver will probably be in the CBA already, hooping and locking up import players. So anything you want to say, or?
Nah, just keep us posted on you guys' journey as well. Drop comments, like, comment, and subscribe.
Next year, we're also thinking about maybe doing a Gains Don't Stop retreat.
Oh, yeah.
So we're trying to put that on your map. Maybe after Oliver's season, maybe like a 3-day thing.
Yep.
Where, you know, it's an all-day thing where we stay together and kind of live this out together, and you guys can see the training in person and see how Oliver trains, you know, in real life, and be able to share more about what you guys are going through and learning. So if that is something you guys are interested in, let us know as well. Thinking about also creating new merch, exclusive Gains Don't Stop merch for that. So if you're about this life, let us know.